apple picking gang. So here is a job that is going to be like super adorable. It's usually a job that I hang up on this bulletin board over here. So I want you to hang it up in your house, but maybe, just maybe, I might have you guys bring it in so that if we come to school super soon, then maybe we can bring in that artwork so we can hang it up somewhere. But maybe, we have loads and loads of other really rad things that we can do. This is one of my fun stories that I love to share with you guys. And we had just finished a job talking about things that are small, medium, and large. Okay? And this is going to be a concept that we talk about all the time. It's important for us to be able to sort things by how much they weigh, by how big or tall that they are. These are skills that we are going to be doing all year long in Kinderland. And I like how this story explains the biggest apple ever. The biggest is the most. Okay, so that's going to be a magical math word where which one is the greatest, which one is the most. We talk about that a lot here, and it keeps carrying on with you as you further your academic career. All right, let's find out what this sweet, cute story is all about. So the characters in this story, are they humans or are they mice? Very good. Once there were two mice who fell in love with the same apple pie. But you had to be there to see just how it happened. I really can't wait to make an apple pie soon. On opening day at Mouseville School, the principal, Mr. Mouser, made an announcement. We will be learning about apples this fall, and to get things started, we are going to have a contest. Whoever brings in the biggest apple to his teacher will win a special prize. The judging will take place on Friday. Good luck. What? Today is Friday. I wonder if this happened today. I have an apple tree in my backyard, said Penelope. Is that our Penelope, though? No, our Penelope is a human. I bet it has really big apples, my apple tree, in my yard. Oh, yeah, like there's an apple tree across from my house, said James. I'm going to climb it as soon as I get home, and I'm going to take a look. I don't have any apple trees, said Clayton, the house mouse, but I'm going to find Mrs. Mousley the biggest apple ever. No, you're not, said his friend Desmond, the field mouth. I'm going to find the biggest one. Oh, yeah? Said Clayton. Yeah, said Desmond. All the way home on the school bus, Clayton and Desmond talked about the contest. Maybe I could grow an apple tree with really big apples, said Clayton. Dude, it takes way too long. You can't just put a seed in and grow an apple tree overnight. I heard Mrs. Mousley say it takes about 6 years. I'll think of something, though, Clayton said. Yeah, so am I, said Desmond. When Clayton got off the bus, he sneaked back into town to see what Penelope and James were up to. His competition. Penelope had come down from her tree, and she was carrying 2 beautiful but tiny apples. James was still way up into the tree across the street. He was picking also some pretty small apples. Clayton knew he'd seen bigger ones at the market. When Desmond came by a little bit later, he realized the same thing. At the market. So a market could be like a farmer's market, like when Annie was selling her apples outside, or When Blippi goes to Walmart, it could be at the market there, like the Supercenter. The next day at school, Penelope and James brought in their tiny apples. No one else brought anything in, just them. Mrs. Mousley cleared her throat. So, class, we have a lot of work to do. We must start the year off fresh, but because we are learning about apples and having an apple contest, we will go to Barnaby's orchard this afternoon. Everyone got super excited. A field trip! I'm going to find the winning apple, said Clayton. Not if I don't find it first, said Desmond. At the orchard, Mrs. Mousley pointed out the different kinds of apples. Then everybody disappeared into the trees, looking for their winner apple. If I have one apple tree, do I have an orchard? No, I need loads like this, okay? Clayton walked down one row, craning his neck. Oh, the apples are so high, especially when you're a tiny mouse, right? Desmond walked down another row, craning his neck. Then Clayton saw what he thought was a really, really big apple. And it was just a little bit too high to reach, so he stretched for it. At that moment, Desmond saw the very exact same apple that was very big at the very same time on the very same branch, and he also stretched to reach it. And they bumped heads when they fell down. So, what do you think? You think we should bring this apple in together? Clayton said. No, we can't. Then there won't be a winner, said Desmond. But when they got back to the bus, James had an apple that was even bigger. The apple was so big, he could hardly carry it. Clayton and Desmond looked at each other. What are they going to do now? They don't have the biggest apple anymore. That night at dinner, Clayton explained his problem to his daddy. Said Dad. Apples don't come in too many sizes. I mean, do you really think you're going to find a bigger one? Well, I don't know, Daddy, said Clayton. Then maybe James is just going to win this prize this time. Maybe we should just be happy for him. It's okay if he wins. Over at Desmond's house, Uncle Vernon said the exact same thing. But Clayton and Desmond were still determined. The next afternoon, they met at Barnaby's orchard. They picked 2 huge baskets of apples, but nothing they found was bigger than the one that James had picked. You know, Clayton said, maybe Daddy was right. This time, maybe James is going to be the winner, but we've got all these apples. I mean, why don't we bake the biggest apple pie ever? I think they're onto something. Desmond laughed. Great! Let's bake the biggest apple pie ever, and we'll make it for everyone to try in our class. Clayton nodded. And I think I know where we're going to find a pie pan that's big enough. Where do you think they're going to find a really ginormous pie pan? It's tricky. The following afternoon, Desmond arrived at Clayton's house with Uncle Vernon. Everything packed up and ready to go, right? Clayton said. It's all in Daddy's truck. But where are we off to? Desmond asked. You're going to find out in just a minute, said Clayton. So look at all those apples in the truck. Dad drove with Clayton and Desmond beside him in the front seat. Uncle Vernon stayed in the back with the apples to make sure that none of the ingredients for the biggest apple pie were going to fall out. As they came around the corner, Desmond gasped, "Oh, I'm starving. Look at Tony's pizza. I want a pizza. Well, of course, said Clayton. What would be better than a giant pizza pan? Mr. Tony greeted them at the door. Welcome, welcome. We are ready to begin. And so they got to work, making dough for the crust, kneading it and rolling it half into a big circle and spreading it all over the deep, deep dish pan. What a good idea to use a pizza pan. Then everyone peeled and sliced the apples. They mixed all the ingredients together like sugar, apples, cinnamon, and they spread the rest of the dough on the top. Whew, said Clayton and Desmond when they were finished. Oh, wow, 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 wow. We are going to put it in the oven for an hour, said Mr. Tony. Give me an hour. The giant pan just barely fit into the giant oven. The next day was Friday. Who would have the largest apple? Do you remember who it was? James, of course. Mr. Mouser handed him the prize. It's a cheddar cheese apple. Why would that be such a great prize for a mouse? They love cheese. I love cheese too. And Mr. Mousley looked surprised. Clayton, Desmond, I'm so surprised you don't have a great big apple. The two of them grinned at each other. And at the same moment, the classroom door flew open. Clayton's dad, Uncle Vernon, and Mr. Tony all came struggling in carrying a gigantic apple pie all by themselves. So cool. Wow, this is wonderful, said Mr. Mousley. That's the biggest apple pie ever. We made it for our whole class, Clayton said. Yeah, us together, said Desmond. And they shared a high five, and everyone in the class had a really big slice of apple pie. Goodness. Apple pie. I could use some apple pie right about now. So we're going to be doing a job today, and it's not just because Natalia was telling me about New York, and I was like, oh, I have a New York shirt. But I like to wear this New York when we are studying apples because they call New York City the Big Apple. So I thought on our days where we're studying apples, I love to support New York. It says, I love New York, the Big Apple. They call it that, and just funny stuff. All right, we are going to be making it the most adorable, the most scrumptious looking, cute apple guy. He's going to be an apple guy, or maybe he could be an apple girl. It's up to you guys. So one of the supplies that I'm going to be needing is going to be the outside of my apple. Now, what I'm going to do for mine is I could color it in, and I love to color, but I kind of wanted mine to have a couple different types of textures, okay? So in one of my old folders, I have a red piece of paper. So this was one of our folders that we had. And then I've got some yellow paper, and I also have some green paper. So I love all apples. So I decided maybe I'm going to make a green one. One thing that I love about doing this job and how I mentioned that it's a job that we get to post and put up is you pick what kind of apple you want. If you want to make a yellow apple, awesome. If you want a red one, super cool. If you want a green one, gnarly. I love having different, unique pieces of artwork up here. I think, I keep saying this because there's multiple things, but one of the biggest hardest things about us being so far from each other is the joy that I get of hanging up your work. I mean, it decorates my room. My room is not looking like a kindergarten classroom because there is not beautiful artwork hanging up everywhere. I take big pride in all of my bulletin boards, and apples are no different. The one thing that I kind of miss is I love the texture that this piece of paper has with our apple. So much like I love to do, I like to make this where it's a really strong cutting job, like a first grade cutting job. I'm going to take my green, I'll do green, and you know what? Maybe I'll do yellow too, because maybe I'll have two. So I'm going to stack my papers together, and then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to walk them all the way around. Please use walking feet. When we go too fast with our scissors, and if we are not walking, then we make them spiky, and we don't want a spiky job. We want a smooth job, right? So we have to make sure that we are walking our scissors onto our job. Walk, 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 walk. Walk, 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 walk. Walk, 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 walk. Notice how I am turning my paper. Walk, 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 walk. All right. Should I just throw my supplies on the floor? No. I don't have a mommy that's here. And even if I did have a mommy that was in here, she would not be cleaning up my scraps. You're cleaning up your scraps, okay? So, I'm going to take this off. And I now have 2 yummy apples. I got a Granny Smith and I've got a delicious, golden delicious. So what I'm going to do next is remember how I love that texture that was on there? So what I think I'm going to do too is I'm going to take my black crayon and I am just going to do that. I'm going to look at this and I'm going to try to do the same thing that they did. So right about here where you would probably see a stem, it's just like a little bit of a line that kind of goes down, right? And it's just kind of like a little bit of shading to give it a little bit of shadowing to make it look a little more realistic, right? And there we go. So it almost looks like it's got a little shadow going on. And then there were cute little dots on the bottom there that I could add to that too. If you want to color on top of your paper, you certainly may. I am not stopping you from doing that. I just like it a little bit sturdier. And a lot of times when I print these off for you guys, I actually already print them off on the colored paper and you just get to choose them. But I love, love, love the idea of us doing that artwork. So I'm going to set this over here. And then the next part that I have is going to be the yummy part of my delicious apple. And what is the yummy part called again? It's called the flesh. So around the flesh, and I know it's hard to see on mine, I used yellow. And then on the inside, I'm using the apricot crayon that I have. Because, I mean, when you leave your apple out, it does start to get a little bit brown, that flesh part, the yummy part. But it's still totally okay to eat as long as it's not been sitting out for, more than 20 years. Then I've got these guys that are in the middle here. What are those again? Yes, those are my seeds. The core of my apple protects my seeds, okay? So on this one, I'm just going to walk my scissors across that dark line. Again, slow down that scissor, okay? Walk, 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 walk. Walk, 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 walk. There we go. Awesome. So I have this, and then I have this, okay? So, or I have this. I was thinking of I was thinking of a different job. Sorry. Anywho, so right over here, it has a word called glue here. Okay. And it's going to end up being a bit of a flip book. One thing that I have to say that could get you a little bit is if your glue keeps ungluing when you're lifting it up, and you're going to be like, it's not staying. If you happen to have a stapler at home, a stapler could really help out with some of that. I do not have a stapler. I mean, I know you're like, oh, I have a stapler, but my stapler's kind of broken right now, so I need to go and buy a new stapler. But I just haven't gotten around to that yet. So I'm going to have to use glue. Now, what I'm going to do right now is I am using my glue sponge, and I'm going to just touch along the very tip of this, and I'm going to peel off, and I'm going to let them stay together just like this, and I'm going to set this off to the side, okay? So that way, I give it time for that to seal up, okay? While I'm doing that is when I could start grabbing some of the other supplies. This job has oodles of supplies, so you need to make sure that you're keeping a really good track of your things. So you want to make sure maybe a garbage is nearby so that you can throw away your scraps. Next part of the job, I noticed are some eyeballs, right? So I'm going to cut those eyeballs out. This is a job made for teachers that have oodles and oodles and oodles of kids in her class. So you are going to notice that you're going to have a lot of eyeballs left over. Put these in your scrap box. Save these. This will come in handy. What if you wanted to make more than one? What if you wanted to make a few of them? Now you've got options and opportunities to use more than one, or to just use those eyeballs on something else, right? Another thing that shows tons and tons of is this cute area, and it's going to be a very cute mouth. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to make my mouth. I want to make my apple look like he's going, yeah! And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to maybe grab my black crayon. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make, I'm going to make it look like a stretched out M. Or if I went to the side, I'm going to make it look like a 3. So I'm going to go 1, 2, like this. Then I'm going to grab a little bit of like maybe I'm going to do my red violet, my lighter one, because I want this to look like a tongue, okay? So I'm going to use my lighter color here to make it look like a tongue, like he's going, what? I'm going to give him some teeth, or her. I'm going to give him the teeth I've always wanted, right? Teeth like your guys's, just perfectly pearly whites. Those look good, right? And then on the inside here, I'm just going to shade this in to make it look a little darker. Oh, yeah. That really pops, doesn't it? I love it. And then I'm going to kind of give myself, I'm going to outline it a little bit with maybe a little bit darker here, to kind of give it a little bit of a lip look, right? There we go. That looks great. It really pops, doesn't it? And I'm going to cut that out. So, I bet this is getting a little bit drier, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and add that little mouth that I made right about here. Looks like a good spot for a happy mouth, right? And then for some cute eyeballs, some silly eyeballs, maybe right here. And if I wanted to give them some eyebrows, could definitely do eyebrows. If you want to give them a little nose, I love nose. Just a little, I just went whoop, and then there you go. And if you want to make it look very girly, we could go boop, 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 boop. Cute. All right, so I'm gonna gently open this up just to make sure. Oh, it's staying really, really well. All right, well, now that it's staying super well, I do have something that looks like this. And I made mine, oopsie daisy, I made mine turn into a stem. So I'm just gonna put that kind of almost behind here, right? Oh, I just wiped off all the glue with my finger. So there's that guy. And then if I wanted to with my green, I could take my green over here and I could make my leaf, or I could color in my leaf too. So if I wanted to color it in green, I could do that. Or if I wanted it to be a little bit stiffer, I could use my paper and use it as an outline. And again, I love doing this because it's very good cutting exercise. This is a great fine motor skill that we all need. I'll take my green crayon and I'll give it some texture. Maybe some veins in there, a couple dots in there. And we will just squeeze that on maybe right about there. A little peekaboo action. Okay. And then, so what I might do, I'm going to take my long red, no rhyme or reason, okay? I'm going to go cut, 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 all the way along. No rhyme, no reason. And then I'm going to fold it. Boop. I'm going to open the fold. And let's see how many I get. I got one, whoopsies. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. And I want them to be zigzag, zigzag, zigzag. Another great tool that I want my kinder stores to do. Your mommies and daddies have already done this before. They've already been to kindergarten. They're really good at this. So I want to make sure they're the ones doing all the hard work. I'm going to take all 4 of mine together so I only have to do this once. And when I make my zigzags, I'm going to fold down and pinch. Then I'm going to fold up. So watch, I'm going to take my paper and I'm going to fold it so it's pointing to the sky. Pinch. Then I'm going to take it so it's pointing to the ground. Pinch, pointing to the sky. Pinch, pointing to the ground. Pinch, pointing to the sky. Pinch. Now we're going to hold it to the count of 20. Starting with 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Squeeze it. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Oh my goodness. That was good. Look at this. It's like crimped hair. I love it. Ooh. So I'm going to pull those little puppies apart. And also in your stack of goodies, you had what looks like seeds, right? I colored my seeds in. I made it a little darker where the shadowing is, and then I colored in brown. I'm going to take those, and I'm going to move this. And where I have a flat spot is where I'm going to put one of these seeds. You have plenty of seeds, so if you make a little whoopsie daisy or you cut one off and it's not quite right, no worries. Flat spot and my seed. Flat spot. I could even put the glue on my flat spot, then add my seed. And one more. Flat spot and the seed. Now, let's make this guy look super cute, right? So on the other side here, other side of my flat part, underneath my apple skin. So remember, the skin is the color of the apple. I'm going to put, oh, I better put it the other way. I'm so silly. I want my colors to show. So I'm going to put it so that it looks like this. So I'm going to double check, make sure I don't make that same little whoopsie daisy again. Happens to us all. So cute. It has arms. Gotta make sure that where you colored is first. It has legs. Now notice I am not gluing onto my white part of my paper. Only gluing to the green part. Now my apple can walk away. I mean, I hope he doesn't. I hope he stays with me forever. Isn't he cute? So cute. Super cute. Oh, I just realized. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to gently open this part of my job. And I want you to think about where the core would be on your apple. Remember what I say, where the core is? It's always on the very bottom. So I'm going to take a look at my job from yesterday on my parts of an apple. And the core is at the very, very bottom. It's that little knobby guy. So I'm going to take my paper and I'm just going to put that right at the bottom. Okay? Because that's where it is. What are these things? Seeds. So I'm going to look at all of my words and I want to find seeds. Seeds has an E sound. So there are more than one E. So you're going to find the S word that has more than one E. So this one has 2. So I'm going to use that guy. And you can put it anywhere. Above it, below it, beside it. It's up to you guys. Now, this right over here is the flesh. That's the yummy part. So that's going to go on my really natural color, right? And then I have my stem, which I'm going to have to put way up here. And then I have my leaf, which I'm going to label over here. I should have made my leaf a little bigger because it's really covered up, but that's okay. And then, what's my last one? The skin. The skin of my cute apple friend. Make sure this weekend you show somebody this so that you can tell them all the delicious parts of an apple. Make sure your name is on the back of your job. I'm going to go ahead and do that very quickly for me. I feel like 2020 is the year that I keep putting my name on my jobs last. And I don't know why, because sometimes you get so excited when you finish and you're like, ah! But anywho, I love my apple. This one's an apple girl, but you might have an apple boy, or you might have an apple that's not worried about being a boy or a girl. It's just a cute apple person. But again, most important part, make sure you tell somebody all the labels of your apple person. All right, I'm going to go tidy up my workspace because remember, mommies and daddies and grandmas and grandpas, Grammies and nanas and nanas, they are not going to help with this. It's your job. Talk soon, my loves. Have a wonderful weekend, by the way.